Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakarishu Sarvada. Om Ganganapate Namaha. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Deva Maheshwara. Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Shri Paramagurubhyo Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Shri Hanumate Namaha. Welcome to Daily Satsang, Nitya Satsang. Today is the 1st of February 2025. By the grace of God and all the great sages, we are continuing our contemplation on Vedanta, particularly Advait Vedanta, and just taking a little bit of a side track. It's not really a side track, but just another area to cover, and that is Samadhi. We've been talking about that last 2 days, and I want to go into a little bit further today. Then we'll get back to Upanishad, and then eventually back into Vivek Chudamani at some point. Samadhi is a very popular word. As we stated yesterday, it has a lot of interesting meaning, but today I want to examine it in terms of the balanced state, balanced and integrated consciousness. So the most direct translation emphasizing the balanced state within the mind is integration of the full mental layering. Within us, there are layers upon layers of experience, memories, feelings, all content of the mind, content of the antakarana. The antakarana is the internal instrument. Karana means instrument. Anta means inner instrument. And it is holding the content of experience. So, for example, if Sachin has gone to, let's say I've gone to a city, a new city that I've never been to before, maybe 10 years ago, right? Some place I've gone to 10 years ago, maybe somewhere in southern Delaware, Lewis, Delaware, let's say, which is actually true, maybe about 10 years ago. There's a ferry there. You can see the ocean. It's a beautiful, I have that in my memory somewhere. So that experience maybe lasted an hour, let's say. But that experience is inside my memory. So the experience that is held inside the memory is part of the overall content of psychological consciousness, psychological area or realm, the antakarana. Now, that content that is existing, whatever it is, our family members, our friends, our experiences, the stories upon stories, it's very, very intricate. It's all interlinked somehow into one web. And it is so vast that it doesn't only span this lifetime. According to Vedantic masters, it spans millions of lifetimes. But we don't have access to past lives as such because of the power of Maya. Maya prevents us from remembering the past lives. This is what the sages have stated. Why is that the case? So that if we remembered the past lives, we would be stuck there. We have to keep moving ahead. Even this life, through jnana or gyan, even though we remember our memories and everything else in this life, but the idea is to rise above the entire content of the mind. While we're alive here, that rising above the content of the mind, that is Jnana Samadhi. That's what we were talking about yesterday. There's so much content, so much experience of all kinds of things. And the Jivatma, through its identification with that content, is lost in the jungle of that content and is suffering again and again and again and again. Something is lost, something is gained, somebody has become poor, somebody has become rich, somebody has become this, that. This just goes on. It just goes on and on and on and on. And eventually, the sadhak realizes that these experiences, they come and go, come and go, come and go, come and go. This is not the reality. Reality meaning satyam. This is just, Jagat is there temporarily. It comes and goes, comes and goes. Situations come and go. Days come and go. Avasthas come and go. They are only relatively real. They're not actually real. So the actuality, the actual reality, the satyam, the paramasatyam, to discover that param satya is the entire path of awakening out of the bondages of psychological consciousness, but realizing that they also have a purpose. The content all is experience only. For example, let's say my father, my mother. I have experience of them from childhood. But the Atma has nothing to do with them. Remember this point. The Atma doesn't have any father, mother, brother, sister. Kuch nahi hai. Atma is Chaitanyam. It has only one connection, that is with Bhagwan and nothing else. These other connections, they just keep coming and going. Millions of lifetimes. We have mother, father in this lifetime. Next lifetime, we have another mother, father, another mother, father. It just goes on. And we've had, according to the Sanatan Dharma, millions upon millions of parents have been there. We have become parents. We have taken male body, female body, this body, that body. Iska koi ant nahi, as such. But the end is there when we awaken out of the misidentification. That the Atma doesn't have any kind of connection with anybody except Paramatma. Because every being in the sansar is just simply a material creation. It is just a conglomeration of matter. But the consciousness that is there, that consciousness, which is the Atma Tattva, is the same as who we are. That's the difference. This is what Vedanta is trying to awaken. In Advaita Vedanta particularly, that who I am, not this ego, not the mind, and not the psychological consciousness and all that limited stuff, not that. What I am, who I am, is a being that is absolutely free, absolutely filled with light, or the divine light itself. Divya Prakash. Mera swarup kya hai? Divya Prakash. Soham, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupam. This is what Shankaracharya ji taught us. Adi Shankaracharya ji, he's an incarnation of Bhagwan Shankar. And that is the belief. And what did he teach? What was his main point? That yes, bhajan, bhakti, manan, chintan, sab karo. Do all the stotras, everything do that is necessary to purify the mind. And that makes sense. It's very logical. We can purify antakarana. It's not to destroy the antakarana. Remember one point. That the antakarana is holding experience of this life. That is, the whole range of experience is necessary so we can be aware of it, learn from it, grow on that foundation out of it. But we're living in the world, so we still have connection with it, but we are growing out of it. 2 points. Stay inside the world. That is Karma Yoga. But remain above the world. That is Jnana Yoga. And continue the activity of devotion. That is Bhakti Yoga. So the beautiful, as we say in the maybe Hindi or Gujarati, Triveni Sangam. Triveni Sangam means 3 rivers coming together. The Bhakti river, the Jnana river, and the Karma river. They beautifully come together within us. And Actually, from a Kundalini point of view, we have the Ida, Pingala, and Shushmana Nadi also. 3 main nadis. They also come together. It all harmonizes inside. It is a beautiful coming together of Jnana, Bhakti, and Karma. Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. And when they come together, that is unified consciousness. Our antakarana gets completely harmonized from inside. That is called the internal harmony. That is what we are trying to achieve in our other programs. That is unified consciousness. Now, in that unified consciousness, something very interesting happens. Assuming that someone has that, this is where the word samadhi comes into the picture. Samadhi is absolute peace. It's not limited peace. It is absolute peace. It is a tremendous thing, because the antakarana is no longer stuck inside its own boundary. I'm going to read a little paragraph here. Just bear with me. I'll try to break it down. So in the realm of Vedanta, the concept of antakarana occupies a pivotal position in understanding the process of self-realization. The antakarana has a very important role in realizing the Atma. The antakarana refers to the inner instrument that not only orchestrates the activities of the mind, but also mediates the interplay between the sense perception and inner cognition. I'll explain that. We have experiences coming through the senses, and we have inner cognition. Like, for example, I am seeing the color red. I am talking to my friend. This is called inner cognition. And we have the experiences of the senses. So the antakarana mediates. It is holding the experience, but it mediates the sense perception and inner cognition. Both are. It's a mediator of those two. It pulls it together. That is called antakarana. This composite faculty, which integrates manas, buddhi, and ahankar, plays a dual role. So the antakarana actually has 4 parts: manas, buddhi, chitta, ahankar. Okay, so we talked about that before. It plays a dual role. On the one hand, it is dispensable. It is indispensable for engaging with the world by filtering and organizing experiences. It filters experiences and organizes them. That is its one role, antakarana. Another role, on the other hand, it constructs the very boundaries that obscure the true nature of the self. It is filtering and organizing experiences, but it's doing something else also. It is creating the boundaries. It constructs the very boundaries that obscure the true nature of the self. The true nature is the Atma Tattva. So because of the experiences that have been brought inside the antakarana, it puts boundaries around them. And it has to do that for organizing. But that creation of those boundaries obscures our realization of who we are. Obscures means it clouds. We don't realize who we are because we are lost inside that experience of the antakarana. These boundaries are central to the experience of avidya, A-V-I-D-Y-A. Avidya means spiritual ignorance or misapprehension of reality. I said, I'm Sachin. Wrong. Problem. That's not true. That is misapprehension. That is just a name. That's not who you are. The maleness, femaleness, these are at the relative level of the body, yes. But Atma Tattva is not male or female or rich or poor. Anything. It is a matter of realization. So that avidya is the root of all existential suffering. Existential, I mentioned it before, it means existence related. Why we suffer? We suffer because of misidentification. Now, that doesn't mean one is running around mad saying, I'm the Atman and losing one's identity. No, everything has its place. The relative level of the bodily level has its own place. The mind and its content has its place. It's needed exactly where it is. But at the same time, the freedom that the Vedantic masters are talking about is a freedom that is called samadhi, where one is no longer trapped inside the realm of the antakarana and lost inside there, because it is a very mixed, and it is just a jumble. It is and energy is just lost inside there. Energy is broken, torn, damaged because the jivatma is lost through avidya inside the antakarana. This is where this whole adhyatma lies, right inside of us. All the temples and gurus and scriptures, everything is inside of us. There's nothing outside. Whatever is outside is actually meant for this realization that the antakarana and the jivatma, or the atma tattva, the brahma tattva, the atma tattva, in one sense, they are completely separate. And in another sense, the antakarana is just a wave on the ocean of consciousness. That's another, depending on which vision you look at. Both are correct. I'll just take another 2 minutes. I want to stop at 8 o'clock. Try to keep the time. This is the most extraordinary thing to really realize, because when we're sitting in dhyan, for example, when we're sitting in meditation, we use this word meditation. Meditation is what? This word meditation is dhyan. But in Ashtanga Yoga, the eightfold yoga of Patanjali, which is described in the Yoga Sutras, that is called Ashtanga Yoga. Eightfold yoga, anga. People say 8 steps, but they're not really steps. This is not the right translation. Ashtanga means 8 limbs. Anga means, just like ang means his body. Like, for example, I'm sitting here, ye mera ang hai, right? I can say my hands are here, my legs are here, my stomach is here, but it is one body after all. It's not like hands are not completely separate from legs, or legs are not separate from chest. In one sense they are, but in another sense they're not. It's all one. Ang means one body. Ashtanga. See, these mistranslations are there in this English language. A lot of mistranslation is there. Ashtanga doesn't mean 8 steps. Step 1, then now you go to step 2, now you go to step. That's not true. Totally false. These are limbs. They are all one step, actually. They are all one anga. Anga means one body. That one step, the eightfold process. Yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. Yeah, you go through them in a step-by-step wise, in that sense. But that doesn't mean that they are like you're taking. It's not like taking one step. They actually all are happening together. Throughout the day, all 7 of the initial steps are done at different times. That's all it is actually, and that's where all the yogas come together. So Patanjali pulled it together, and he says, okay, now you start this process this way. So there is a step-by-step process, but it doesn't mean that that if I just mechanically take these steps, I'll realize the truth. No, you'll not realize anything that way. It is realizing what is the inner truth behind those steps. Okay, but anyway, I'm not going to go into that. That's another very big discussion, what those 8 steps are. Ashtanga Yoga. You can look it up. We'll have to do a special workshop on that some other time in the future. But what is the culmination of that? That is called samadhi. Yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan. That's 7. And then the 8th is samadhi. And in that samadhi, there is absolute divine light. Divya Prakash ka anubhav hota hai isme. Then if you come back into the body again, that remains. That realization remains. So we'll talk about that for another day or two. I mean, good Lord, this is one of my favorite subjects. I don't want to leave this thing, But this is the goal, actually. With all the scriptures and everything else is all leading to this goal. But we'll spend another day or so on this, and then jump back into the other things that we were talking about. Let's stop here for now. Om Dhyanamulam Gurur Murti Mantramulam Gurur Vakyam Pujamulam Gurur Padam Mokshamulam Gurur Krupa Tameva Mata Chapita Tameva Tameva Bandusha Saga Tameva तमेव विद्या द्रविडं तमेव सर्वं मम देवदेव। ॐ त्र्यम्बकमजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्ष्यमामृतात्। नमः शिवाय। ॐ ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डायै विच्चे। ॐ दुर्गे दुर्गे रक्षिणी ठ ठ स्वाहा। ॐ श्री राधा कृष्णार्पणमस्तु।